Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. We're here once again with the Empire. This time, God of Gobbo is going to be taking on the Skaven, so let's go ahead and have a look. Boris Todbringer on a Barded Warhorse leading the way. Super solid pick against the Skaven. Got a front line of Flagellants. Looks like some swordsmen as well. Plenty of Free Company Militia. A Bright Wizard. And, yeah, looks like some Empire Knights hidden in the woods as well. More Empire Knights and the Zintler's Reichsguard over on the low ground. For the Skaven, we've got slaves up front, second line of Plague Monks, and we've got some slave spears as well. Let's see here. Over on the far side, we've got the dreaded Triple Flayers. So, yeah, this is going to be a lot to deal with. Triple Doom Flayers, including the Dwarf Thing Menace, It Could Claw upon a Doom Wheel, Gutter Runners with Poison, and he's also got some Death Runners as well. So very, very interesting. You can see the Empire forces moving up here. And the Bright Wizard immediately going to start popping fireballs on It Could Claw. This is a great pick. It's not going to do a lot of damage initially, but over the course of the battle, if he just continues to spam that, we'll be able to do some good damage. This frontline engagement might be a little bit tough for the Empire. The Flagellants will match up well, certainly. Looks like Boris forces a nice blob here, and oh, a Flame Storm just ripping through these Plague Monks. Yeah, that's going to pretty much do away with one unit almost right off the bat, so that's pretty good there. Meanwhile, these Plague Monks are getting rear charged by Flagellants. State troops on the other side, so we should be able to see a terror route there. Or not a terror route, but a leadership? Maybe not. I guess the Plague Monks will probably hold out, but Ikit and his Doom Wheels, his Flayers rather, over here on this side. There are some Knights in the Blazing Sun here who do have magic resistance, but unfortunately the Death Runners and the Flayers, you can see their armor is sundered down to only 20, and they just get immediately seen off by those units there. The Gutter Runners with Poison, of course, with the armor that low, they will do a ton of damage to those Knights, so some nice synergy there, but the frontline engagement, it's a bit of a mixed bag. The Zintler's Reichsguard and these Reichsguard were able to come clean up a huge flank here, and a lot of those Plague Monks did get routed off. You can see there's several units there routing. These two units both quite low as well, so the charge of the Reichsguard and the Empire Knights here cleaning out the Skaven support is very key. Obviously the Flayers are still going to be a huge pain to deal with, and you know, the Death Runners and so on, you can see them running in here. They're going to be able to drag down these Empire Knights pretty efficiently, but the cleaning out all the support rats here is also going to be very important. Looks like yeah, a little bit of a misplace. Probably wanted to place that a little bit further back to get the wide effect of the cone on the big blob there, but we'll see. Looks like the Flayers pushing through, knowing that they've got to get through and try and take out these Free Company. Despite the lack of AP, Free Company just have such good volume of fire that they can still do good damage. You can see Ikit's getting pretty low. That Fire Wizard's been continuously just poking him with fireballs, you know, staying patient, just continuing to try and work him down over time. Over here you can see Empire Knights cleaning up units in the back line, these Plague Monks and Skaven Slaves and more, obviously just going to get absolutely ransacked, as well as Zintler's Reichsguard going after more Skaven. You know, with the Skaven, it's always a threat having lots of units come back from routes, so you need to be aware of that. The Flayers are going to be a big pain, though, as I've said several times. Flayers are a little bit overpowered right now because of a couple different things. You can see when they're in combat, they're up to 124 armor because of this, the best defense. Means basically they're like spitting blades, makes them hard to hit. You can see they have this massive sweeping attack animation that just does a ton of damage. But yeah, Ikit's Doom Wheel manages to get free, although Boris is going after it. Believe it or not, Boris on a horse is actually a pretty good pick for a number of reasons here. He does have a missile block chance and regeneration, so you don't have to worry about necessarily healing himself, and he will be able to mitigate some fire from something like a Jezzail because he does have some missile block chance. Of course, being on the horse makes him nice and mobile. He's a small enough target that he's relatively hard to hit, but he's mobile and he can do some good damage as well. 430 weapon strength, and the two leadership effect items, Crush the Weak and White Cloak of Ulrich, are both very good against the Skaven, because of course, very often they'll be low on leadership. But yeah, the Flayers are proving to be a menace, certainly, and Zintler's Reichsguard here now just trying to pin them down, and it looks like the fireballs from the Sorcerer, or from the Fire Wizard, also try to be used on the Flayers as well. The infantry is working through the last of the Plague Monks there, but another Scorch going to do a little bit of damage there. And we do have some free company coming back from route, so we'll see. Finishing off Ikit's going to be very key here, and you can see Boris gets a nice rear charge here. Sword slap in the Doom Wheel, just trying to disassemble it, the hard way. And it does route off Ikit. He's low enough at this point, only 160 HP. He's pretty much done for at this point. I'll be very surprised if he comes back from route. And another fireball from that fire wizard might even finish him off. Where did that guy get off to? I'm not really sure. Surely he's still here somewhere. But anyway, yeah, Ikit likely not coming back. We'll see. These flares are still a lot to deal with, but the balance power... Oh, there he is. The balance power is slightly in favor of the Empire at this point, with these knights still being able to clean up a lot of the support. The biggest issue for me with flares is the fact that they can do so well against heavy cavalry and sustained combat. Like, I really feel like that as a chariot unit, and granted, a lot of the armor-piercing chariots have this issue, but the Doomflayers are definitely the most egregious, especially because of that big sweep attack. It hits like 10 or 12 dudes in that big sweep. So yeah, so the Reichsguard gonna try and pull away there, not stay and fight that Dwarf Thing Menace, but you can see Ikit just blew up his Doom Wheel there. Must have got finished off by a fireball or something. Maybe it was those Empire Knights, but yeah, that is gonna make the leadership aspect of the battle a pretty big issue for the Skaven. You can see when these heroic units come in, especially these single models, not on the big monsters, but on just like horses, and not infantry either. Infantry will just get run over by flares, but characters on horse-sized things seems to be one of the best ways of dealing with Doomflayers. You try and bog them down with heavy cavalry. Missiles, of course, are a great way of dealing with them as well, but just to bog them down, tie them down, and try and hit them with a single model like Boris here. Even like the Fire Wizard probably be a decent pick as well. Yeah, looks like some Death Runners still hanging around potentially. Oh, those are just Gutter Runners. But yeah, the Doomflayers flaying up the infantry still quite nicely. These Empire Knights going to come through. It looks like another fireball. Doesn't quite finish off a model there, but does some pretty good damage. And yeah, the leadership for the flares is definitely getting pretty low. Both the Fire Wizard and Boris get in here. They're able to get some good slaps, and the Empire Knights get a good charge. The Empire Knights should be able to hold them in place, at least for Boris to get a couple of attacks here. Yeah, that big sweeping spread attack that they have like that just does so much damage. It's brutal, brutal stuff. We're going to fast forward a little bit, as it is mostly more of the same, just these flares trying to get taken care of. There are a few supporting infantry that come back and try and make a difference here, but it's mostly just going to be Boris and his hero squad trying to finish off the flares with what few cav remain. You can see the leadership losses are just going to become so much so to the point where the Skaven can't really hold up, and that will lead eventually to critical army losses here, but it is going to take some ridiculous poking and prodding. You can see how even they do well against the single entity models, which is a little bit ridiculous, but yeah, victory for the Empire, and very well played to God of Gobos there, triumphing against a disgusting triple Flayer build. And despite the fact the Flayers were able to cut through most of the Empire army, Boris being an absolute champ in the late game, Bright Wizard as well. Between that Flame Storm and the Fireballs, I really like the use of him there. Obviously, the Skaven build was a little bit weak in that there were no Jezzails and no summoning, both of which I think are big mistakes. Like, you could cut these Death Runners and bring a unit of Jezzails, and I think that they would be... I mean, the Death Runners did a lot of work, don't get me wrong, but the Jezzails do almost as much work, if not more, and they can pressure your opponent. So, like, they could have been pressuring this flying Bright Wizard the whole time. A quick Howling Warp Gale from Ikit Claw, and some concentrated fire from the Jezzails, and you can get rid of that Bright Wizard in a big hurry. So I think that the Skaven build was a little bit weak in some aspects. Obviously, the triple flare is a lot to deal with, but had he had Jezzails, and instead of some of these Plague Monks, maybe cut 2 of these Plague Monks and bring a Plague Priest for some additional summoning, just to get more numbers on the field, so that as these slaves start to rout off, you can continue to just throw down more and more numbers. Might have turned out a little bit differently, but credit to God of Gobos here. Played very well with his cav, especially the Zintler's Reichsguard and these Empire Knights sweeping up that side on the initial engagement, just devastating that flank and clearing out a lot of the supporting chaff. so that then these guys could be free to focus on Ikit and the Flayers. So yeah, very well played to both players. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button, so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.